Hello, I'm your incredibly handsome host and local TV personality, Brian. With me today is our bear Raymond, our resident twink that can't grow a stash, Tim, and the Khajiit that ain't got no wares, Chalker.
But they have coin.
Thank you for joining Airsoftaholics Anonymous on our maiden voyage. Today we'll be talking about the biggest changes in Airsoft we've seen over the years. So put on your iPro and buckle up, because it's about to hit the fan.
Alright, what's up guys? It's Ray here. Start this little off with some questions for the boys. So we're going to go over a little introduction of all of us. So let's go around the table real quick. How long have we all been playing? Tim.
I've been playing since 2007, so about 12 years.
Brian.
I've been playing since, I think, 2011, maybe 2010, so it's been like 9 years.
9 years?
Yeah.
Jocker.
Probably about the same as Tim, because I was in certain groups of Airsoft that I don't even remember with him, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, Pam was a long time ago. That was probably about
Before
like 8,
that,
9.
I'm talking.
Oh, yeah, even before that.
'Cause I didn't even remember. What was that?
13th SOS. Knockoff SAS team, pretty much.
Yeah, you guys were weird back in the day.
I'm still weird.
And myself, I've been playing for maybe about 10 years now. Since about 2009, I got into it.
Yeah,
All right,
sounds-
so,
that
like-
sounds about right.
How did you get into Airsoft, Ray?
I think I was about 13. I was sitting on my computer just watching YouTube videos, and I just stumbled upon Airsoft from there and started watching a shit ton of videos from it, thinking like, holy shit, this is really, really cool. And I was bugging my parents to get me a gun for the longest time. They finally did, like Walmart Crossman, little MP5. It was bad. But I didn't really start playing until I was about 15, and that's when I met Timmy, Michael, Lexi, a couple other guys like that. They kind of got me into it, showing me like GMR videos, like that. So at that point, that's kind of how I got into it. Just stumbled upon it, really.
Yeah, I think when I was in the 5th grade, I got one of those like Crossman Springers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I shot like soda cans off like the back deck to see them explode. I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. And then from there, I think when I was 12, my friend Danny had like this Scar H, and that was the coolest thing on the planet. It's like, this guy has a Scar H, that's wild. And he was like, here, put on these goggles, I'm gonna shoot you. I was like, alright, and I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah.
Chalker.
Sadomasochism. We all love it. We all love it. We love being shot. We love shooting each other. No one can deny it. No one's going to deny it.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but
Yeah.
Exactly.
That kind of goes into like our buddy Wayne's philosophy of why he got into Airsoft. He always said he has an overwhelming urge to shoot people, but an equally overwhelming urge not to go to prison.
you mean go back to prison?
Go back to prison, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got in Airsoft. I was out skating with some of my friends, and the day was pretty hot, so we decided they wanted to go play Airsoft, and I didn't know what it was. And they described it as kind of like paintball, but the gun looked real. And the guy, he let me borrow it. It was this M4. It had a blue flashlight, this sick laser that went like 50 yards. It's the most inaccurate thing. I had this sweet red dot at the time. I thought it was like, an EOTech. And there's a springer, so you have to pull a charging handle back to make it shoot. And we played this game called D-Day. I mean, D-Day, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
And from that day, I was just like, I need more. I need to do this more often. And then I was only playing like once every few months, and then I actually got a gun I bought off eBay, and from there it's just when it kind of picked up. And then I started looking into more videos. I found GMR, and that's when I realized this is actually more than just shooting each other. Like, you could take it to another level. Like, 'cause I always wanted to join the military when I was a kid, so I realized this is like a tool in a sense. And then that's just really how I picked up into it.
Yeah.
What was your first airsoft gun you got off eBay?
It was this $20 Springer shotgun, and it looked like it was full size, but when I got it, it was about as long as my forearm.
I remember that thing.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But after that, I've had something else I really can't remember.
Well, you had
I was
something
using a
similar happen to
Crossman.
you,
It was
didn't
just,
Yeah, I kind of had something similar to that. I think it was junior year in high school, and I scored the highest on my history finals in my class, and my dad's like, hey, since you did that, I'm going to buy you an airsoft gun, so tell me what you want. And at that point, we were still running with Scar and everything, doing that whole team. I don't even think we were Spectra at that point. So I told him, like, hey, we need a support gunner, so, like, buy me this. And I told him to grab me, he told me, like, as long as it was under 500, he'll get it for me.
Damn.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
a pretty high for a freaking history test.
I know, right? Only thing I was ever good at in high school, history.
Jesus Christ.
But, told him I wanted the A&K M249 Para because I thought that looked really cool.
It did look cool.
It did look cool. He bought it. I thought he got off Airsoft Megastore. He bought that off eBay. When I say you guys were all there, just about every single one of you were there. I brought it out for the first time. That gun literally fell apart.
And only time.
The one and only time I brought it out, it's literally falling apart in my hands. Like, that's not an exaggeration when I say pieces were literally just falling right off it.
I do remember the bipod was the first thing to fall off.
Yep.
Then I believe the handguard you were playing and it came off.
Yep.
And then the top part where kind of like where the real 249 where the belt would feed in the rounds.
Yeah.
That came off.
Yep.
And that's when you're just like, this is just getting worse.
Actually, I think the first thing that actually came off, I was standing there holding it by the carrying handle,
Yeah, you were.
and it just snapped right off.
Oh yeah, that's what that
Jesus
broke.
Christ.
We were
Yeah.
at our little quote unquote
Should've
base.
You should have just chucked it in the woods at that point.
I mean, you know, the funny thing is so many people have been, like, asking me about that gun, like Brett and Bailey and everybody, like, where is it? And
I still have bits and pieces at it.
yeah, everyone has, like, little bits and pieces of it. Because
Everybody's
I've given...
broken gun came to my house, and
Yeah.
it always got stashed under my bed.
Yep.
And I never fixed it. I
Yep.
just kept your parts.
All right, so what's everyone's favorite Airsoft memory that they've had so far? Chaka, how about you start it off?
Oh, fine. Most likely, epic defense moment at that first Red Storm I went to. When it was like all weekend, we were just like outnumbered. We just kept kicking so much ass, and they just kept thinking, nah, they're never gonna be able to do this. And then we just ended up doing it. They gave us some objective, like, carry this like 200-pound fake bomb all the way across the factory complex. They're thinking, oh, it's gonna take them forever. No, our team said, it, got like 20 guys to carry it downstairs.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then we just had to like defend for an entire day, and it was amazing. I loved it.
That was pretty cool.
Brian?
I think my favorite, well, it's like I have like 3 moments probably that are like my favorite, and it kind of depends. I have like a favorite with like different groups of people, so probably like my favorite from when we were with Cutthroat was like the first time we went to Zulu. I think I went by myself. I don't think you guys came with me, and I was with Dan and Cloud. And literally, like, ran out of air. It was, like, the end of the day. And we were at the bottom of their D-Day hill. And there were some dudes, like, up at the top of the hill. And, like, obviously they couldn't hit us because of how far it was. And I was like, well, we have, like, 20 minutes till the end of the day. Let's run up the hill and, like, charge at them. Now, I didn't have a pistol or anything. I literally pulled out 2 Enola Gay smoke grenades that I had for, like, a year. And just, like, pulled the pins on those. And we ran up the hill, and it was f***ing epic. I did get shot in the face like 10 times, so that sucked, but that was pretty epic.
For all of that 30 seconds, you felt like Braveheart or some shit.
No, it was like a solid minute and a half. I had to
They
go.
can take my freedom with the smoke grenades in your hands.
See, I had to go at Dan and Brandon's pace, which is like a light jog.
As opposed to
They
me,
might have been having heart attacks. I really don't know.
As opposed to me is like deer across the bridge.
Yeah, but we did die.
See, the thing of it is with Brandon is he kind of looks like Sonic the Hedgehog's cousin Sluggish. Like Sonic saying...
Look at that, dog!
Yeah, he looks like Sonic says, you know, gotta move fast, and Brandon's like, why move at all?
No, and like I think Brandon's more of like, he's one of those guys where he's shooting his airsoft gun and he's like, well, I'm obviously hitting that guy because I'm pointing my gun at him. Mm-hmm. But his guns do have like really long range. But he doesn't build long range guns because he's like, I want to be able to hit someone at a long range. His whole thought behind it is, I don't want to walk. He's like, I want to like keep my like body in the same position.
Exactly.
So shoot far instead of walk.
We love you, Brandon.
So
Tim.
Yeah. What's yours?
Well, an old field I played at, it was actually my very first event, was called 556 Airsoft out of Stroudsburg. And the way the field was set, it was, the beginning part of the field was just this probably like 400 or 500 meter open field with absolutely zero cover. We had like pretty high brush, like 2 foot high brush. That was like pretty thick tree line, which led to another open field, which led into like pretty hilly-ish, like heavy woods, like really thick or whatever. And the first part of the game, it was at nighttime, and we had to get into the enemy's base and blow it up. So me and my buddy, we were Ricky Recon. We thought we were snipers from Call of Duty, and we crawled for about, I want to say at the time it was like about an hour and a half.
Were you a Marine at this point?
No, I was like a kid. I was like 16.
I mean, they didn't have to suck many brains out of Tim.
And mind you, we were using sprinklers at this event.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And this is when we first were introduced to like higher end AEGs at that time. Like KWA was like this is like Sistema pretty much. So we crawled about an hour and a half, and we finally got there. And there was they had a vehicle there, like a gun truck kind of thing. And this thing was probably about no more than 5 feet away than from running my buddy over, Mikey. Just completely just flattening him because he didn't see us. So we ended up completing the objective, whatever. And then the next day, it was almost the same game style, but we switched sides on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about 95 degrees that day. And I borrowed a ghillie suit off of a guy I met at that day. And we decided to do the same thing. We're just going to low crawl the whole way through. So I grew pretty impatient because the crabgrass got all over my skin. It's kind of getting irritating. So I'm about, give or take, like 50 meters from the objective. I figure nobody's around. They have no idea what's going on. So I run there. I get up, run, take the satchel, blow it up. And I see probably about like 20 dudes just like start charging us. And I'm like, wait a second. They're dead. And so, yeah. Dead guys killed us. They were in a spawn. It was just pretty pathetic, honestly. But that was like my favorite airsoft moment because it was just like so serious.
So serious.
Yeah.
I would probably say, I think I have two. Two of my most favorite. One I think was at like Red Storm 4. Jocko, you remember this when I shot that guy in the dick.
I watched that because he shot me, and I had to stand there and watch as you came around, like down the steps, and him come around the corner, and I'm just leaning against the wall, thinking to myself, "Oh, this is gonna end really badly."
There's a lot of like anytime we've played at the Lace Factory for a Red Storm, there's been tons of incidences. I think all of us have experienced where you're dead, and you're looking at your buddies, and then you're looking at the enemy, and you're like, "This is gonna hurt someone a whole." Lot.
Yeah.
And generally it's both parties.
Why do you think I started wearing the Juggernaut mask?
Yeah.
I freaking turned my head around the one corner. It was just like...
I don't blame you, but no, I shot that guy right in the dick, and he cursed me out in Spanish for like 5 minutes. I never apologized to the guy.
As he slowly started falling down the wall.
Oh, yeah.
In pain.
But that and I think I was at Zulu for Operation Blood Diamond. And this had happened a couple of times to me before, but this one was the best. Everyone here has probably experienced the situation of you go to a game and the wrong team medics you, not paying attention.
That's happened to me multiple times.
That's happened to me so many goddamn times, but this time was just the greatest. I only ever let it happen one time at a game because if I just let it happen all the time, I'd probably be medicked more times by the enemy team than my own team. In all honesty,
that's bullshit. I'm the best medic.
Apparently you're not after 2 weeks ago.
Because you're the only medic that we
dick.
make. You're like the medic that we... You're the only medic for us. We make you the medic.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I'm good.
Yeah.
Eat a dick.
But no, that was the best. Them just medicing. They're like, hey, you green? I'm like, well, I'm not going to say no.
What did
well,
you
for
say?
that
I honestly didn't say anything. I really just went... I didn't say a word. I just looked at the guy and went, well I'm wearing a green shirt.
For that event, like, you're supposed to wear, like, civilian clothes, but you could wear, like, one item that was camouflage.
Yeah, I was wearing my Oscam top and blue jeans and a Yankee hat. I thought I looked pretty militia.
I mean, I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Because you only wear Hawaiian shirts. You're wearing a Hawaiian shirt now.
You guys always look busted. I am the god.
I mean, I intentionally try and, like, pull the busted look, but I never actually look busted because I'm so handsome.
Brian tries to wear busted. Ray just
Brian
doesn't
is the best
care.
looking out of all of us, realistically.
That's how I ended up on TV.
There you go.
Tim is the, like, Marine, everything's
I feel like Tim...
tight, and then I'm just like, I don't care what I wear as long as they don't see me.
I'm using up over the years. So.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
All right.
So, what is, like, the biggest thing you've seen change in airsoft.
The big topic for today, the biggest change.
We've all had it like right around a decade of experience in airsoft.
I'm gonna definitely say safety. So when I first started, up until this day, want your opinion on this as well. Eye protection from when I started was you can go buy a pair of $3 safety glasses at a hardware shop, and that was fine. There was no rules about it. Following that was the FPS limits. There was no such thing, realistically. Like 500 FPS, like snipers 10 feet away, no problem. The engagement distance, that kind of came in, and it was like, I'm not a fan of it. There was never, when I first started, for a few years, that wasn't a thing. Full auto with the machine guns only, that was never a thing. Along with full face protection. I think that's stupid. That should be upon yourself if you want to do that. That shouldn't be forced upon the player.
That's really more about it. That's really an insurance thing. But anyone who's listening to it just heard you say they're like, where the is this guy playing? Pennsylvania, my dudes. Hardcore.
Yeah.
And there's even places nowadays where you can go, and I mean, obviously you have to wear full face.
Lame.
But, or not full face, but like full steel, you know, like it's in the rules everywhere. And really, it
is a smart thing.
Yeah. There's been times where you get hit, like, or your gun gets shot, and like BB will bounce like right up into your mask, and you're just like, this is full steel. How the did that get in there?
Yeah. I
had that happen when I was wearing my I4 at a Red Storm. Somehow, like, I was just like walking along and I see a BB like going back and forth. And I'm like, what the
how did that happen?
Nothing has ever gone wrong with that Juggernaut mask of mine. Like, it has been just beat to hell.
How do you guys feel though on the whole safety? Because iPro realistically is going to be should be enforced. But FPS, how do you guys feel about that?
See, I think like when I started playing, it was like, you know, we all played in the like backyard with our friends. You know, there was like 10 or 12 of us, and no one was like, oh, I bought a chrono off Evike for $70. I'm gonna check everyone, you know. But like we all had 400 FPS guns, and we were all using .2s. So it's like no one really like complained about, oh my god, this guy's like shooting hard. And I mean, my one friend Ben had like a barn, and that was like our CQB thing. You know, you'd like go around the corner of the barn and then get blasted full auto by a 400 FPS gun. And I mean, you didn't really complain. It was just kind of, you know, a part of playing airsoft.
Yeah, I think it kind of made you a little bit more on edge because you don't know what you're going against, and it kind of made you think a little bit more as compared to everybody else shooting the same.
The thing that annoys me or like confuses me anymore is just how now they use joules instead of FPS in certain aspects. And like at the one Red Storm, I remember like when we were shooting at these guys who were just those assholes who were just sitting in this like glass room, and they were just laughing and like pissing everyone off and just kind of antagonizing people and like daring us to shoot at them.
Yeah,
and so we're like, you know what? All right, we started shooting at it, and then they called a ref over to us, and the ref's like, oh yeah, you guys are shattering the glass, and they're getting rained with glass, and in the back of my head, I'm like, fucking good for them. But then I got accused of jewel creeping, and I'm like, I don't even know what a jewel is for Airsoft.
Yeah, and you were shooting an AG.
Yeah.
But the thing with that incident was, I was the one that was like actually shooting through the glass, and I was the only one that when they checked, they were like, oh yeah, you're cool.
But they called me and Ray down, and we both had AEGs.
And Mike.
Yeah,
Mike actually got into some trouble for that because you and I were fine.
Yeah.
After we got re-chronoed, because they said, "Why are you guys shooting hot?" Because they chronoed us with.
Yeah, they chronoed us on the spot. Said that we were jewel creeping. Took us back to the the staging area. Chronoed us again. The one in the field said we were jewel creeping. The one at the staging area was like, you're fine.
The thing of it is the reason being is because you and I were running 2.8s on the field while they chronoed us with 3s.
Oh, yeah,
that's why. But I remember Greg Brothers getting mad at me for that. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, we chrono you with 3s. I'm like, where does it say in your rule book that I can't run a lighter weight BB? I said, this is what I have. I have 2.8s on. And I mean, now I only ever run like 2.8s and... I'm sorry, I don't even run 2.8s anymore. I just run 3s or 3.2s.
I still use 2.8s. So I get something more powerful.
Yeah.
I just used 2.8s for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I was astonished.
That was 3.2s you were running.
No, I started with 2.8s, then I went to 3.2s. I was always about, .12s for machine guns just for fun, and .2s for accuracy.
And you wonder why you've had so many guns.
Yeah, realistically, you get a point.
Yeah.
So
Heavens.
All right, Ray, what is like the biggest change you've seen in Airsoft?
Biggest change for me has been event producers, like on that national stage, like the guys doing stuff all around the country. When I first started, it was really just Line Claws, Black Sheep. The only other person was maybe Sato. But other than that, like, they're the only two. Like, when I first got into it, that's what I was shown. I was shown Operation Pine Plains, Sato, and then the Black Sheep games down to Cove, and then Operation Irene. But now it's, Black Sheep's gone. They screwed themselves. Sato's still a thing. Lion Claws, for some reason, is still a thing. I don't get it. But now you have Doomsday Tactical, Overwatch Tactics, Third Coast Airsoft, Desert Fox Events,
Milsim
West, American Milsim. And there's probably Centurion. I don't get how that's still a thing.
The most recent one we went to as well.
Well,
what
that's
was the most recent one we went to.
Up at EMR.
Third World.
Other World.
Other World. Yeah.
That's not something I would really throw into that category with them.
Okay.
That's local stuff. But that's the biggest change I've noticed. And that's maybe because social media has taken such a bigger part in Airsoft now. Like, everyone has an Instagram, everybody has a Facebook, YouTube, so on and so forth. Some of these guys have Twitters,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing that there's more of them.
It's good for networking. Like to reach out.
Well, yeah.
It's good for expanding and furthering the business and of the game in general, because you have more competition, which means you need to try harder and strive to make things better.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like I was saying though, it's not a bad thing that there's more Milsim producers out there. It's just I've looked at all of them just about through their YouTubes, Instagram, so on and so forth. Not a lot of them are worth going to.
Yeah, I think that's like a really big thing is that, we've been to like, I don't even know how many different event producers. We've been to quite a few, and a lot of them are really expensive. And like at a lot of events, you're just kind of like, why did I pay this much money to show up? Why did I pay this much money to show up here and sit in a hotel and stare at Ray and sit in a heart-shaped bathtub for 7 hours?
Yeah, Sato.
And then when we actually go and like kill people, we get yelled at by command. So
not even that. It's just it's our guy who was running as our platoon leader who took the position way too serious. You know what's like?
He was wearing a f***ing kilt.
That's what I was gonna say. You know how hard it is. Like, you're already playing Airsoft, so like you're not taking it that serious, even if it's Milsim. But getting yelled at by a man who's maybe 32, scrawny as in a kilt, you want me to? Oh yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. I'll sit back at this hotel for 5 hours after I just paid $175.
Yeah, and drove 3 hours to be there. Like, the people that were there from West Point, there were like 50 West Point cadets there, they did not take it nearly as seriously. They were just off.
Yeah. It's but that's the thing, man. It's like a lot of them's like there's not a lot of innovation. And like this is definitely something we're gonna go over
at a later date.
At a later date, like in real big detail. So I'm gonna cut it off there.
Yeah. If I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in real quick, when it comes to all the event producers, now I haven't been to quite a few events, but only one that's truly ever stood out, like out of the norm, was it Milsim West or American Milsim West?
Yeah.
Josh Warren's company, because they actually do try to make it a completely different experience, to actually make it like military simulation, unlike all the other ones where it's just like your backyard game but with more players.
Yeah. And I think Ray's point kind of connects into mine, and the biggest change I've noticed in Airsoft is probably how much money people spend on Airsoft. Like when I got into it, and this is when I first like got an AEG, it was like $150, and that was like cool because it was like, oh my god, I'm spending ton of money. And then I found out my friend bought like a KWA Vector, when they first came out, and I was like, holy you spent like $400.
Nowadays, it's like an average one is like $300 for like your like average level gun.
Yeah, I mean nowadays, it's like you can't go out and get a good gun, like a gun that you can keep for a year, for less than $300. And I remember when I got my first KWA, and that gun was, I think, like $320, $350, and I had that thing for years. I mean, and what really got me to notice this was that some people on our previous team bought night vision. I'm like, okay, well, I've been to events with night vision before, but they were like ghost hunters. Like, I didn't have them, but other people had them. And it's like, wow, that's really cool. You can see for like 30 feet, I can probably see further without them. But you're fucking cool because you spent $250 on that, and you also have a Rhino mount on your helmet. And it was just kind of like, all right, like, let me see what your like PVS 14 looks like. And we tried it out one time. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then I started looking on eBay at the prices. I'm like, holy shit, this is really expensive. And then I started looking at mounting hardware, and I was like, holy shit, this is really expensive. And now that I know how much that stuff costs, and after owning it, I'm like, holy shit, like, there's people out there that have teams of dudes that all have dual tube nods that cost $12,000 a piece, and then another like $600 in mounting hardware. And I'm like sitting over here like, I don't think I've spent $12,000 on Airsoft. I would like to not do that. Dark Horse 6.
I wasn't going to say it.
I love you. But like, that's without doubt the biggest change I've seen in Airsoft is just people are literally like fisting money out there. They're like, like grenade launchers for $700.
Yeah, that was the big thing. I remember I was looking at one, and if we're going to talk about watching a Dark Horse 6 video, and I think they were down in Mississippi for one of the Third Coast games, and I'm watching the video, and I'm like, holy shit, Steve's launcher has some goddamn range. So I go hit him up. I'm like, hey buddy, how you been and everything, and blah blah blah. We're talking for a little bit, and started asking about it. He's like, yeah dude, this is the I forget what the company was that made it, but it's the ML36. He's like, yeah, it runs for about $750. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah, and like I think like 2-3 years ago, I bought a grenade launcher. It was like a Mad Bull, and it was like $120. And I thought that was really fun. We went to what was that Airsoft arena in Rhode Island? Extreme Airsoft. The best indoor arena I've been to in a long time. And I literally blasted this guy in the dick with a shower shell, and
the look he gave you.
Yeah, it was a great time. I really thoroughly enjoyed using that thing, especially when I got to shoot my own teammates.
Side note, Brian has shot me with that intentionally, and he also loves shooting people in the dick with it.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love getting, like,
he
showered
intentionally
in the dick
tries to do
with
that.
white stuff?
It's like he made it a note. He's like, well, I got to get my dick shot for the day.
I've literally watched you go to a field, first game, shoots a guy in the dick with his grenade launcher, just lets his gun fall and goes, I'm done, and just walks off the field.
That's literally it.
But now that I don't have the grenade launcher, I just, like, anytime I go to a field and I shoot someone with, like, in the dick, I just stop and I'm always like, hey guys, I'm done for the day. I shot someone in the dick. I'm ready to go home. I want some Pancheros. Let's hit the road, guys.
Sounds about right. Yeah, when it comes to spending money in Airsoft, I think spending all the money on like your weapon, accessories for it, I can understand that. I don't understand buying an EOTech or an ACOG for Airsoft, but I just cannot stand when people go and buy Cry Precision, head to toe, and all that Gucci gear to sling plastic at each other. That just drives me insane.
The pores are bitching again.
See, I can understand spending money on certain things, like a plate carrier. Like, I bought my Mayflower plate carrier 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I spent like 200 something odd dollars on it.
That's
It's,
like the only reasonable thing to spend money
yeah,
on.
and it's still like, I don't think it's ever frayed or anything like that. And I use it.
But to go buy
pretty often.
Peltors or Swordings, whatever they're called,
Yeah.
like headsets, like $500-$600 headsets. That's, to me, just completely
And that
ridiculous.
goes back to like the night vision thing. Like, I had PVS 14, I had like a 9VG mount. Like, it probably cost me like $2,500 in total. And I'm kind of like, all right, I use this for like 2 events, I think 3 events maybe. I'm like, this is kind of cool. It's kind of like a good edge to have. But the first night event at a Milsim event that I used it at, I shot like 4 or 5 dudes that didn't know I was there. And like, I was pretty close. I was like 50, 60 feet away. And my IR laser was on them. And I have a like decently accurate gun. But I was like, alright, I definitely hit these guys because I saw them doing the little dance. And not a single one of them called it.
Yeah.
So I was like, alright.
Like, if I can't see it, then they can't see it.
Yeah, the people were like, oh, if they can't see me, I'm not going to call it.
Yeah.
So,
That's all put out there.
No plugins.
Yeah.
Except for Pancheros. Pancheros plugin. Hey.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we could get a Panchero sponsorship, I would.
That'd be pretty cool.
Feed us burritos while we do these.
Yeah, if we're
Please.
editing this,
I'm poor.
it's like, let's little throw-ins, but like let's not try it, because then if we do that and that goes up, it's like Steve's like, what the hell? But
I mean, Steve, it seems like I don't know Steve really well, but it seems like he has a heart attack a lot. And I don't know if that's just like joke or what. I mean, like, here's my take on Airsoft, especially certain event producers. It's literally a bunch of guys, mostly overweight, whose wives or girlfriend or cat takes their like one testicle out of the wall safe and gives it to them for one day that entire year, and he goes and does Airsoft.
you said that at the last Red Storm game, like the last one at the Lace Factory. One dude that was there, really overweight, completely agreed with you, did a little dance, says, oh, that's me, that's me. 2 other guys, you have a knack for getting people like really offended in Airsoft.
That's my entire life. I just go out there and try and offend people.
All right, Jocker, what's the biggest change you've seen in the 12 years you've been playing?
Thank you for your service.
You make me feel old. Tim's older than me. I'd have to say, without going on an existential rant, that it would more or less be how the sport is dying but advancing at the same time, because it's like the numbers of people are going down, but at the same time the companies are trying to like diversify products. It looks like increase the modernization of them with like putting micro trigger switches and MOSFETs, just stock built into a lot of guns. Like, how many nowadays you see a gun for like $300, everyone automatically expects it to have like tight bore barrels, an electronic control system or some like the Ares units do, like Crytek maybe even. I don't even know if they do that nowadays.
They do.
Us old heads think like that. These newer guys are like, oh, $300, this gun's probably garbage. You have to put upgrades into it.
Yeah, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I bought my Ares freaking Amoeba, and I'm like, this thing's amazing. I love it.
Why don't you get a PTW, bro?
I
Because
remember.
every single time I've seen one of those, people complain how they break.
Okay, that's true. I remember when I got like a KWA, and then like that was the beast knees. Like, to me, nothing could beat that. And then I was like introduced to like what a bucking was and a nub, and I'm like, what?
You're a nub.
What? This could add like another like 20 to 30 feet to my range, another 50 feet, whatever, you know. And I'm just like, holy hell, this is a whole new world, you know. I think we've all felt that though. And like new guns, like what was the one the Avalon, the HK 416 Avalon?
416A5, yeah.
He bought an Avalon. What did you do? Like the gun that like everyone's like, oh, this is really good gearbox and everything. And then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna HPA it, just completely waste this good gearbox here.
Yeah. You know,
How'd that work out?
in my defense,
I mean, that is a really good gun.
I kind of got talked into doing that.
By who?
You, Christian, Dan, literally anybody from New Jersey.
But here's the my thing. I've had an HPA gun for so long that I don't I just don't like using an AEG anymore.
Yeah.
It feels disgusting.
Heathen.
I feel like when I pull the trigger and it makes those noises that it sounds like my soul dying.
Oh, he doesn't want to be down here in the dirt with us commoners. He wants to be in the noble realm.
He's the king of the castle.
I
And
agree.
we're
Brian.
dirty peasants, but we can outnumber
Yeah,
them. Just...
Tim
After
used
2 weeks ago, we went to an EMR to play Airsoft, and I borrowed Ray's Polar Star, and I will never use an AEG again. So if I can't use that, I'm not playing. Only for the fact it's just such a clean shot. It's not that whining, eerie girlfriend sound like that.
Well, you're buying that off me, so.
Yeah.
That HPAs make most of them a sharp cracking sound.
Yeah.
It sounds crisp, clean, fantastic.
It almost makes a suppressor worth buying.
Yeah.
It would actually
Yeah.
kind of sort of work.
It does work. If you have a foam-filled suppressor, it sounds quieter.
The closest thing to an HPA I've used was that gas blowback Vector that I bought, which I rarely use because it was kind of an impulse purchase because I really wanted it.
But even going back to what Chalker said about Airsoft dying, it seems all of us could really remember back in the day of NEPA Airsoft.
Yeah, it was big.
It was big back in the day. I mean, there was probably about 20 some teams around this area and everything in the Wilkes-Barre Scranton area, and nothing.
Yeah, I remember honestly trying to find it, whether it be a pickup, a backyard game or even an event. You had good chances 3 to 4 events a month you can go to. Never an issue. At least in our immediate area between Northeast and Southeast PA.
It's
But
gone
now.
now.
It just seems you have to go because I remember Allentown was the next closest thing, and even now I don't hear anything. So now it's you got to travel to Jersey.
Grit Toad
or
is
New York.
closed.
It's the way I described it to Brian before in my longer rant version was, it's you know how in World War II, the Germans, they had all this shit under control, that they slowly started getting pushed into one confined space before they utterly got crushed, and that's kind of how Airsoft feels like all sorts of areas are just kind of dying out, and it's just going to a few isolated areas in California or somewhere, and then eventually it just kind of feels like something's going to smother it out.
There's still like that. Jersey still has a nice scene.
New York
New York
has a solid scene.
There
Maybe we're
even
just-
if we go over to the other side of PA, over Pittsburgh, where they're really interacting with Ohio and everything, it's bumping over there. It's just right here.
In this depressing, miserable shithole.
It's dead. It's dead. But I mean, yeah. I don't really know where else to
Send help.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us for the maiden voyage of Airsoftaholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeet.
Eerie.